Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me to Otaku no Yube. And I hope my talk is interesting to all of you because I'm going to talk about sexuality. And so let's start from the picture of Hermes and Aphrodite. I think most of you know Greek god and goddess. This is a mimic of human sexuality. So God has males and females. However, in many organisms, sex is more flexible. That is my message. And so many plants has flowers, hermaphrodites. So hermaphrodites means a mixture of Hermes and Aphrodite. And you can see female organ and male organ stamen mixed in the same flower. And in the first day, this is a female because the stigma is open, but the stamen is closed. And on the second day, the flower is male. So stamen is open, but the stigma is already gone. So many flowers are both males and females, but it's changed sex day by day. And many flowers are beautiful because flowers has beautiful corolla or petals. That's because flowers need to attract insects to carry out pollination. But wind-pollinated flowers are not so beautiful because it's necessary to attract insects. But most wind-pollinated flowers are monoecious. So male flowers and female flowers are born from different branches. That's reasonable because after flowering, male flowers are thrown away. It's not necessary to keep. But for producing seeds, female flowers must be maintained to mature. So female flowers are on the thick stem, but male flowers are pending down on very thin stem and soon dropped off. So wind-pollinated flowers are females or males on the different branches. But in insect-pollinated flowers, males and females are on the same branch. That's why. Why hermaphrodite? That's because to attract insects. If insect-pollinated flowers have male and female flowers, then they need twice as much as petals to attract insects. So to save cost for advertisement and attraction, they have only one flower with both males and females. But in many plants, sex is more flexible. This is a scientific name is Arisema. In English, Jack in the pulpit. In Japan, Tennansho. And Tennansho is male or female, but the same plant is male or a female, depending on year. And small plants are usually males. And a plant grows larger, then a plant changes its sex from male to female. And so big plants can produce seeds, many seeds and fruits and seeds. It's costly. So after producing many fruits, female plant change its sex to male next year. Very flexible.
You said the males are smaller than the females. Then the females, when they change to males, do they get smaller or do they stay the same size?
So after fruiting, female plant becomes smaller. And another interesting point of this plant is that there is a hole here in male flower, but there is no hole. Envelope is closed. That's because insects, small insects carrying pollen, escape from here using this hole after carrying pollen grains, and enter the envelope of a female flower. But this is a trap flower. So insects with pollen cannot escape and dead. This is a trap of tenan shell. And not only plants, but also fish change its sex. So kumanomi is a fish associated with isoginchaku. Sea anemone. Yes. Or crocodile. So this fish changes its sex from male to female. And this is a beautiful fish called betta. A group of fish called betta changes its sex from female to male. And why do plants and fish have sex change in common? This is because both plants and fish can change its body size very flexibly. So fish is smaller or much larger. Plants also small or large. It grows, so it can change size very much, often 10 times. So usually producing offspring, that is a very costly process. So usually larger plants or larger fish are female. The smaller one is a male. However, in the case of betta, male is much larger than a female. That's because a male has a territory. And within the territory, there are many females. And females is ordered. So top one, the second one, the next one. And by removing male of a territory, then the top female changes sex to a male. And govern the territory. That is the system of betta. Anyway, in fish, sex is very flexible. And in turtle, this is a picture I took in Ito campus. We have many freshwater turtles. Not only freshwater turtles, but also sea turtles change its sex by temperature. So when egg is hatched, if temperature is very high, then a turtle becomes female. And the temperature is lower, then a turtle becomes male. So sex is partly determined by a genetic element, but that determination is not so rigid. So you may think that genetics is very rigid and the environment is not so strong, but actually, in many organisms, sex is determined both by genetics and environments, and maybe even in human. Yes. So you have sex chromosome, XX or XY, but that is not the absolute determinant of sex. You can change its sex by environmental factors. And in many plants, a single plant has both male and female organs. But sometimes some flowers are hermaphrodite, but others are males. This is reasonable because male flowers can produce offspring as a father, and it's not so costly. Pollen grain is much cheaper than seeds. But when a hermaphrodite flower is fertilized, then it produces seeds. It's much costly. So by producing seeds from hermaphrodite flowers, many plants can produce offspring by using stamens, male flower. So male flowers can be a father. So this is a very common system in plants. It's reasonable, but a very difficult phenomenon, very difficult to explain, is a female plant. So in T-cell noazami, it's a beautiful flower, spring flower. We have many in new campus, Ito campus. And I took this picture in Ito campus. So you can see pollen grains and pistil. So this is a hermaphrodite. However, this plant does not have any pollen. So this is a female. And so this plant can be a mother or a father. But that plant can produce offspring only by seeds as a mother. Then, by simple calculation, the number of offspring is 2 times large more than this one. So usually female plant is very disadvantageous in the population of hermaphrodite. Then why be a female? This was puzzling, but my research on radish showed that female is determined by mitochondrial DNA. I hope you know mitochondria. It is transmitted only through seeds, not through pollen. Then for mitochondrial DNA, suppressing production of stamen, male, is advantageous. If resource is reallocated from pollen to seeds, then production of seeds is increased. Then mitochondrial DNA can produce its offspring more often. And actually, this is a kind of genetic disease for a plant. So mitochondrial DNA suppress production of pollen grains. So this is disadvantageous for nuclear DNA, but advantageous for mitochondrial DNA. There are similar phenomena in insects. Some kind of virus or bacteria is transmitted through eggs, only by eggs. That is called vertical transmission. So those parasites suppress production of male offspring, son. So if an insect is infected by some particular bacteria or virus, then insects produce only males. That is a similar phenomenon. And so even in plants, dioecious is found. This is similar to human. So this male flower is on the male tree. That female flower is on the female tree. So male trees and the female trees are separated. In this case, female tree is disadvantageous to attract insects because there is no pollen. Here is you can see yellow ball that is at top of stamen, and insects can get both nectar and pollen from male flowers. And for female flowers, insects cannot take pollen. And also, usually nectar is very small amount, limited. Then why female visits, the insect visits female flowers? I observed this tree, and I found that insects visits much more frequently on males. And maybe flowers are quite similar. So female flower is a mimic of male flower. And so it's a kind of doubt. And so occasionally insects make a mistake to visit a female flower. And in some environments, insects are less common. For example, along this road, there are some plants, but almost no insect. In those environments, so many weedy plants produce closed flowers like this. These flowers are closed, but fertilization occurs within the flower. So it's a complete self-fertilization. This is another system. And more extreme case is that all of these plants are female. And so Yavumao or Hyodorimana produces abundant seeds without fertilization. So those plants are all female. And I learned this phenomenon when I was a high school student. And it's puzzling. Why no male? And I'm much interested in the reason of why we have males. The reason data of male is puzzling. So I became interested in this all female plants, and I became a researcher. So I have been working on this all female plants when I was a high school student and a graduate student, and even now. And this is a very big question, because John Maynard Smith, he's a very famous evolutionary biologist and a theoretical biologist, developed a theory that asexual reproduction is actually advantageous. This is a simple mathematics. So let's assume that a sexual pair produces one daughter and one offspring, one son. And this pair again produce one daughter and one son. Then the population does not increase, okay? But let's assume that a mother mutated and acquired the ability to produce daughter without any fertilization, without any male. Actually, there are many organisms like this, not only plants, but also fish or frogs or salamander and so on. Many species are all female. And then, if one mother produces two daughters, and then in every generation, the population doubled. So, as for the rate of population increase, asexual reproduction is advantageous, 2 times advantageous. This is the theory of Maynard Smith. And this argument is very strong. And in addition to this twofold advantage, asexual plants or animals can colonize by a single individual. So Kyushu University moved from Hakozaki to Ito, and we don't have any dandelion in Ito campus before, but once a single individual of dandelion migrated and then propagated. So that's because dandelion in Ito campus is asexual. Yeah. So anyway, asexual reproduction is very advantageous. Then why we are sexual? To explain this puzzle, interesting hypothesis is proposed. That is called Red Queen hypothesis. Van Baren claimed that evolutionary change is required to stay in the same place, and the cessation of change may result in extinction. And so this is a sentence in Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. Now here you see it takes all the running you can do to keep in the same place. From this story, Van Baren named his hypothesis as Red Queen hypothesis. Anyway, the world is changing every time. So both plants and animals must change every time. This is original idea. And Dr. Hamilton developed this idea to pathogen. So not only many animals, but also our human are infected by many, many pathogens. Now all of you know that by the epidemic of COVID-19. And so Hamilton considered that to co-evolve with rapidly evolving pathogens, pests, virus, and so on, sexual reproduction is advantageous because in the process of sexual reproduction, genes from a mother and genes from a father is mixed, and so what to say, shuffled and segregated, combined. So a huge diversity of combination is produced from sexual reproduction. But my question is, are wild plants so frequently diseased? After learning from his theory, I'm very much interested in this theory, but I didn't know that wild plants are often diseased. And I observed my pet plants, Hyodoribana, and I found yellow-leaved plants, and I confirmed that this yellow flower is a virus infection symptom. And in the vicinity of Dazaifu, Fukuoka, I observed a population of Hyodoribana, and it seems color is disappeared. But so this part is the lower bottom is the frequency of virus-infected plants. And after 1991, virus infection is rapidly spread in this population, and many plants are killed by virus. And after 7 years, the population is almost extinct. And I compared the frequency of infection between sexual and asexual population. Fortunately, in Hyodoribana, there is both sexual and asexual population. And in sexual population, virus infection is very rare. But in asexual population, it's very frequent. And can you go back?
Right here?
Yes, okay. And more recently, I learned that European dandelion is crossed with Japanese dandelion. It's amazing because European dandelion has been believed asexual. Actually, seeds are always produced by asexual reproduction. But interestingly, European dandelion produces functional pollen occasionally, not usually, but occasionally. And Japanese tampon is completely sexual. So sometimes Japanese tampon is fertilized with pollen from European tampon. And then hybrid is produced. And hybrids can produce seeds asexually. So, amazing. It's surprising. And actually, this process is ongoing in Ohori Koen. And now I'm in Fukuoka Science Museum. And in this last spring, last April, I sampled DNA samples. I got DNA samples of many dandelions with the help of kids. And we are collaborating to test the process of evolution of this hybrid dandelion. But before that, I collected a lot of seeds from sexual dandelion. And among about 500 seeds, one seed is a hybrid. And I propagated a mature plant. And then a hybrid can produce functional seeds. So such kind of process is ongoing. And I learned that dandelion is frequently diseased. You can see white powder. This is a symptom of fungi infection. And there are many diseases. And recently, molecular biologists confirmed that even plants have immune system. And now we can examine immune gene of dandelions. And this is an unpublished result, but there are many unique immune gene in dandelions. And a unique gene of Japanese dandelion is mixed with European dandelion in hybrid. So hybrid dandelion is evolving by absorbing Japanese dandelion gene. But even after hybridization, they can produce seeds asexually. It's interesting. And this is a phylogeny of SARS coronavirus 2. And it appeared 2020, maybe in China. Maybe originally it used host of bats. So from bats to human, host was changed, and then a new virus appeared. But it quickly evolved, and it branched to Delta virus, and then Omicron. And this is the first case that we observed ongoing evolution or contemporary evolution. When I was a graduate student, I'm interested in evolution, and I started my research on evolution. But many scientists criticized me because evolution cannot observe. We cannot experiment. We cannot repeat. So actually, the research on evolution was quite difficult. But now we can observe evolution, and we can repeat the process. So now evolution is the target of more rigorous science. And so there are many wonderful work on the evolution of coronavirus. But the message to me is that pathogen can evolve quite rapidly and evolve its virulence. So maybe Hamilton is right. And interestingly, we have some gene that protects against severe COVID-19 disease. And interestingly, this gene is derived from Neanderthal. This is the founding of Dr. Pebo, who received Nobel Prize yesterday.
That's right.
Yeah.
The ceremony was yesterday.
Yes. So our ancestor hybridized with Neanderthal, and then hybridized with Denisova, another fossil human. So we are frequently hybridized with another one. And even after our ancestor in East Asian people evolved, East Asian people diverged to several lineages, and our human is a hybrid of Yayoi people and Jomon people. And in Europe, European population diverged to major 4 lineages. One is in Western Europe, another is in Eastern Europe, and another is in the vicinity of Lebanon, and another is in Iran. And these 4 lineages migrated westward and hybridized, and the European people evolved. So Japanese are hybrids, Europeans are hybrids. The hybridization is ubiquitous. And maybe that's why we need to protect against our lineages by mixing genes. And we have a lot of pests, pathogens, enemies. And so microbes can evolve quite rapidly. Generation time is very small, very short. So you observed the evolution of COVID-19 during even 1 year. But our generation time is several years. So by shuffling our genes to our offspring, we can produce tremendous diversity of combination. That may be a device for fighting against viruses and other pathogens. That is my message. So the sexuality of plants and animals are extremely diverse. And the male-female dichotomy does not hold. Sexual expression can change depending on the environment. So this is partly true, at least for in human, at least partly. So you don't think that males and females are only 2 categories. There are some gradients and also some flexibility. And the sexual reproduction accelerates adaptive evolution, particularly effective as a countermeasure against pathogen evolution. However, sexual reproduction costs twice as much as asexual reproduction. So many organisms evolved asexual reproduction. So organisms show a tremendous diversity of sexuality. And interestingly, we are the offspring of hybrids. Thank you for listening to my
Thank you very much, Dr. Yahara. We are like a little over time, but there is a glaring question. So is it okay if we extend a little bit for the question? So okay, yeah.
Looking forward to it.
If you stand up, you block the.
Yeah.
Are you drunk?
So when animals or plant changes sexuality, how about the gene expression? Gene changes or not? Because
gene expression changes.
Expression changes. Then
Yes. So in the case of turtle, temperature changes switch from female to male.
so what level of genes? So human being, I can think of the X gene changes to the Y gene, or it's impossible.
No. X and Y is a marker.
Yeah, so human being.
That is a marker, not X and Y are not a gene to determine sex expression. Okay, there are many genes to characterize male and female phenotypes. So X and Y are dichotomous. So XX or XY, that is a dichotomous category. However, even in an organism, an individual with XY, gender phenotype is continuous, variable. So some XY individual has more female physical trait or mental trait. And there is no dichotomous state.
But in medicine,
yeah.
the phenotype or the expression changes, then we take it as an abnormality, not normality.
No.
Medicine.
There is no threshold of abnormality. Abnormality is a kind of shukan.
Well, but in medicine, we define the disease based on the sexuality.
No, yeah, actually, that is not true. Anyway, for example, the size of breast or strength or hair type, hair morphology, and so on are gradual. And there are many genes determining sex phenotype. Okay, XX and XY are two different states, but that is not the determinant of sexual phenotypes. Okay, there are many phenotypes, and of course, males have a set of phenotypes, and the females have a set of phenotypes. That it seems they are bimodal, but actually, the difference between male phenotypes and the female phenotypes are continuous.
Yeah, what I can understand is, so if you can say continuous, but X genes produce the uterus and the ovary, and Y genes
No. It's different, biologically different.
Yeah. What I'm saying is,
there are many genes controlling
yes,
the production,
but
development of
someone who
test
has a
and so on.
Y gene has
No.
the testis, and someone who has the X gene has the uterus.
No.
Maybe you can continue this.
Yeah. So
if there are
okay.
any questions. Okay, we'll start with Ron.
ミトコンドリアのジンの件なんですけれども、なんかオーバーエクスプレストのジンが具体的には何に関するのジンなんですか？エネジーのメタボリズムとか他なのですか？花の性別のあそこで。
花粉を作るプロセスを阻害する遺伝子。
Oh, so that mitochondrial gene like it's kind of inhibits the process of making the coffin.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so with a lot of some fruits that we have today, we do a lot of transplantations, and then the fruit depends on how we transplant the plant. So I want to know. I never understood this. How does sexuality work when we transplant a flower, or a branch that makes fruits into a different plant? For avocados, for example, I've heard the fruit property doesn't depend on the tree that it's based on, but it's more like what branch you transplant on the tree.
Transplant.
Yeah,
接ぎ木
so how does it affect the genes of the stuff that's transplanted on a tree when you?
The word like a cutting.
Yeah, so
接ぎ木で遺伝子を移せるかっていう。
で、なんか遺伝子の影響があるのか。
By usually no. By 接ぎ木 we can なんですかね、別の種類の枝でもつなぐことができますけど、その場合遺伝子は普通移りません。だから、なんか 桜にこう桃をついても桃は桃。普通。But there are some expressions.
I wanted something similar to that. Like if you talked about the fish, right? So fish, sometimes male, sometimes female.
Yes.
So when you extract DNA from the fish when it's male, is the DNA the same as the fish in a female state? So only gene expression is
Yes,
different?
yes.
And,
Only
and
gene
DNA
expression.
is still the same.
Yes. DNA, genome is the same.
So if you decide to go straight clone something like that, you might not end up with a male
So
or
you
female.
could clone a male
And,
and have female.
so
End up with a female.
Yeah.
our human beings, XX and XY does not matter. Everybody has genes being a female or being a male. Okay. So by changing gene expression, we can change our sex phenotype.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, we are a little bit over time. Yeah, go ahead, do you have
Okay.
a question?
Yes.
Okay, last question.
Okay. So, in the experience of turtle, turtles changes the sexes, male or female, according to the temperature.
Yes.
So I wonder that in the summer, every turtle becomes female, and in the winter, every turtle becomes males. So how they maintain the diversity of the
Yeah,
sexes?
it's an interesting question. Basically, sex is determined in a juvenile, and so it seems that turtles manage sex ratio by laying eggs in different depth, in different temperature.
Oh,
So in soil, deep soil, temperature is lower, and then even in hot days, hot summer, temperature is more stable.
okay, so you say that the temperature. Sorry, what?
卵の時の温度で普通決まってしまって、大人になってからはそうそう変わらない。
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we're going to have to close out Dr. Yahara's talk. Everybody give another round of applause.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.